Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the monastery, the open bar of the internet, the world's greatest shit show, and the place where we, the good brothers and sisters of this most holy of temples, seek enlightenment through the drunkest, craziest, and most batshit ways possible. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me I have a newcomer into this temple, the
I
one and
am
only
just
Flame Scion.
I am just random guy that you picked up from the street who likes TTRPGs.
Uh, yeah, the whole thing started with us conversing about King Arthur Pendragon, and then things expanded out from there. And now, for some of you who are more familiar with my work, you might look at this and go, "Wait, I thought you swore off doing anything 5e related." That is technically not true. I only swore off covering first-party 5e because I was so frustrated with that. And, of course, the OGL fiasco did not do them any favors. I did a whole post-mortem on that, because I was at ground zero for a lot of that shit. And as I've done these Valley series more and more over the last few years, I came to realize that it wasn't exactly fair to throw the contributions of third-party D&D under the same bus as the first party. To that end, I wanted to expand on that, as well as use it as an excuse to cover some very interesting third-party D&D things that I've hinted at in the past, but haven't gone all in on. Now, does this mean that some book of magic items is going to get covered or something like that? No. Anything that I cover that's 5e adjacent is going to be built on a certain theme. This also means things like the Tome of Mystical Tattoos, which I really like, won't be covered in something like this. And for the first one, since it's currently doing a reprint as well as an expanded monster setup, I thought going back and looking at Nimble in detail would be a good call. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I have backed both Kickstarters when it comes to Nimble, both the second edition run originally and the more recent reprint of it, along with the Monsters and More supplement. Now, there will be some slight changes when it comes to that reprint, but the only major change is just taking the Heroes book, which we'll cover later, and splitting it off into individual books for each class. But more or less is going to be the same content. Now, Nimble likes to portray itself as, doing 5e without all the slog, and for the first part of that, we're going to be looking at the core rules. Then we'll look at the hero book, and then the GM's guide. I'd imagine with the GM's guide, there's going to be a fair few things I skip because, a lot of GM's guides are just advice. And obviously, in the interest of further disclosure, I will note that I have interviewed the developer of Nimble twice. Although bringing up that I've interviewed somebody is a bit redundant when there's over 1,000 interviews on my channel.
I mean, it gives them a good excuse to go back and take a look to check something new.
Yeah, it is a little bit easier to set up interviews now compared to a few years ago, because people can look at that giant playlist. But before we even get into the crunch, I do want to point out the inspired by list, which I'm glad that they did this. I think more games should.
Yeah.
So, inspirations include, obviously, D&D 5e. This is a hack of it. Pathfinder 2e, Mouse Ritter, Into the Odd, Knave, DC 20, which is funny because that's not even fully out yet. Uh, Tales of the Valiant, Karn, House DM, Matt Colville, and many other long forgotten sources. Uh, there's it's interesting. This is an interesting bunch because you have some games that are more retro clone in their design or much crunch or significantly crunch light like Mouse Ritter and Into the Odd, and then you have things that are very resource heavy like DC-20. And with Tales of the Valiant, I covered that in detail. Tales of the Valiant is a nice alternative for people who want something D&D adjacent, but don't care for the 5.5 edition. And truth be told, I actually prefer Tales of the Valiant personally because of some of the changes that were made that I covered when I did a breakdown of the classes. Oh. The big one is the fact that there are no dead levels. There are no dead levels, and luck got moved from a feat over into a core mechanic. But I also see a few familiar names when it comes to contributions. Anto at Icarus Games. I haven't met him, but it's a case of being in the same circles. But let me check something on the bookmark side of things. I mean, the PDF's only 58 pages long, so if it doesn't have bookmarks, it's not going to be a deal breaker. But it is important to check these things. And
Yeah.
yes, we do have bookmarks, which is good because I would have had some issues if we didn't. And for a bit of context, Flame, I am very much a stickler for navigation.
I don't blame you, especially when you have to go through RPG books that are like rounding the 200 to 300 pages.
Mm-hmm. Oh, some of them more. Hero system.
Yeah.
Or as a general, it's more about if I need a specific rule immediately. Some of those Tormenta books could be a bit large too. It will never not be funny to me when I see people do the fainting couch of the fact that I even know what Tormenta is.
That was the Brazilian one, right?
Yeah. I have described it as Brazilian GURPS.
Yeah, I remember.
Tormenta was just the setting for it, though Tormenta as a setting has system hopped over the years. But let's see, the first thing they go into with Nimble is the start here part of it. Where it's basically talking about how you should familiarize yourself with the rules.
Yeah.
And what to do if you're new to RPGs or if you're experienced with RPGs. I do appreciate the latter because there was a bit of I was in a bit of a debate a few years ago regarding the usefulness of high-level play in D&D. And that narrative of the game gets boring after 6th level or something like that, or it gets boring into the
Yeah,
teens. I felt that was an incomplete assessment of the issue, and when I dug a little bit deeper, I found that the problem was um, an over favoring of the new player experience when it comes to getting support. But that same kind of support is not there for higher level campaigns, at least when it comes to core materials. And because the big reward around that time is just getting more HP,
yeah,
you end up with a bit of that slog issue. Or I think a better way to put it is that the damage output doesn't scale fast enough with the HP gains, especially on the monster side, and this sort of thing would be a lot easier to fix if monster creation was more of a thing. No, I'm not petty at all. But then there is talk about being a good player, and some of these I think even veterans could take notes of. Um,
yeah.
things like sharing the spotlight. Though I'd argue a GM should look at what the players can do and give them not only a bit of challenge in doing that, but also a means to let them shine. This is why the most cringy kind of DM is the one who boasts about how hard they make the campaign for the players.
Yeah, if you post about making hard campaigns and are proud of it, you're just terrible at the stuff you do, and no one will ever want to play with you.
Is that is a good way to end up becoming that GM.
Yeah,
Oh.
don't be that GM.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to the embrace failure part, this is I'd go one step further and say to lean into things like the fail forward school of thought. Uh, if you're not familiar, fail forward is this idea that a failed roll is not a narrative stop.
You can use it as in a creative way to just even push you further or just get you closer to your goal,
Mm-hmm.
just in a different flavor.
Oh yeah. Describing actions, not mechanics, that is a big thing.
I
Uh,
think that one is for what I've seen with new players when they try to get into TTRPGs. It might be because they're very fresh on when you explain the rules, and sometimes they just try to describe more the mechanics rather than with actions.
uh, yeah, and I've seen that personally. Something that I try to do to mitigate that issue is to tell them to instead of just studying the rules alone, go watch a bunch of action movies.
It's a good source of inspiration.
Yeah, and well, Rob Laws agrees with me on that because he wrote a book called Blowing Up the Movies that was all about that. It's a pretty good book, by the way. And be gracious to the GM. Bring snacks. Uh,
That
but
last part is very important.
mhm. Don't bring chocolate. If I'm the GM, don't bring chocolate. Doing so will have dire consequences. But then we get into the core rules, and I would like to point out that I love the art that we have for this.
Oh, it's absolutely gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. Uh, so first off, the core stats. Instead of 6, we have 4.
Yeah.
Strength, dexterity, intelligence, and will. I would say strength, dexterity, and intelligence is exactly what it sounds like. Will, I feel like is a mix of elements between wisdom and charisma.
Yeah.
And of these 6 core stats, I've often felt charisma is the most misunderstood. There was a misunderstanding for, I'm not sure if this is still a problem, but it was for years, of people conflating charisma with appearance.
The way I always understood charisma is your ability to engage on the social aspect of the game, like how you communicate, how you express your ideas, and everything like that. But also, you need to know the charisma will let you be like a person that inspires others.
Force of personality is the recurring word when it comes to charisma.
Yeah.
In the DM's guide for first edition, there was a bit of an aside regarding this, and one of the examples used to illustrate this was Napoleon Bonaparte, somebody who was certainly charismatic, but wasn't exactly the prettiest guy in the room.
Yeah.
Now, something else I do find interesting is the reference of ki. When an ability or spell references ki, use one of your ki stats. If a stat is listed before a die roll, roll a number of dice equal to that stat. For example, will d8 means that if your will is 2, you roll 2d8. So let's get that out of the way. Let's get that out of the way first. We are not using any ability score, then generating ability modifier. It is straight modifier, much like, say, True 20.
Yeah.
But then we have the skills. So we have Arcana, Examination, which I think is meant to be both investigation and perception.
Perception still it's its own thing, but yeah.
Finesse, Influence, Insight, Might, Lore, which I think is meant to be both history and religion rolled into one skill.
A single one. Yeah.
Yep.
Then you have Naturecraft, which is basically
Survival.
the same with survival, animal handling, and all that kind of stuff. Perception is the same, and stealth is still the same.
Yep. So then we have skill checks, which work more or less the same, including abilities, including ability saves.
Yeah.
The DC for effects a hero causes are 10 plus ki, so that's 2 more than normal. I think in a lot of cases it was 8. When making saves, you have 1 advantage save and 1 disadvantaged. So you have 1 save that you always roll with advantage and 1 you always roll with disadvantage. Some people may be aghast at the disadvantage part, but I see it as you're playing as a party of adventurers. You should be emphasizing each other's strengths and trying to mitigate each other's weaknesses.
Right. Everyone needs to cover for the other character if possible.
Mm-hmm. In fact, I'd say one of the best ways to look at class design is look at positions on a team sport.
Yeah.
You know, whether that be football or football, or rugby or hockey, the greatest sport. No, I'm not biased.
I can't say much because I am too biased. So
I do enjoy both forms of football, even if it's for the shit posting. Um, I I spend like a year I spend like a yearly basis laughing at Serie A over in Italy because of how chaotic that league seems to be.
Well, I am South American, so I enjoy the football that is actually played with the foot.
Mm-hmm. I I like both. I recently got turned. I recently got turned on to Aussie rules football, which does both. You also have to kick really,
Yeah.
really, really high. Uh, although it is also called footy over there, which is the most Australian thing ever, to take a very simple word and shorten it even further. But now with advantage and disadvantage, that's exactly what you'd think it is. Though it does
Yeah.
appear here that advantage and disadvantage is not just limited to D20 rolls.
Yeah, it appears to be also on the D6 that you have to throw.
Like if you're like you could roll damage with advantage or disadvantage. It'd work the same way. You're just adding additional die of that type, and either um, dropping the lowest or dropping the highest. And moreover, is the fact that disadvantage doesn't stop at 1, which I enjoyed that with Emberwind, and I certainly enjoy that here. But then we have hit points and dying. So when you're reduced to HP, reduced to 0, you get 1 wound. You also get the dying condition. While dying, you only get 1 action. You break concentration, and you're at risk of worse harm.
Yeah, attacking and using spells causes another wound unless you make a DC 10 strength save.
Mhm.
More or less how normally a death save will work in D&D in 5e. And taking damage while dying causes 2 wounds and a crit causes 3 instead.
Yep. Oh.
Well, there's the explanation of the wounds.
Mhm.
Wounds are serious injuries that you've taken. They are a long-term gauge on how close you are to death. HP can usually be recovered quickly, but wounds may take many days of resting to fully recover from. Usually 1 per safe rest.
Yep. And when you've taken 6 wounds, unless you have an ability that changes it, you are dead. There are ways to revive, but raised dead. I remember raised dead costing like 20,000 GP of materials. But you can get temp HP. Temp HP does not stack, though after a rest you lose temp HP. Hit dice represent your ability to recover from injuries. You get 1 hit die at level 1. You get an additional 1 each time you level up. They recover during a safe rest. I realize hit dice is a holdover from 5e. The funny thing is that I've had a few people gaslight me into saying that hit dice is the successor to healing surges in 4e. They're not. They are not. You had a certain amount of with healing surges. The way it worked was you had a certain amount each day. Using a healing surge, which unless you use certain abilities, which a lot of the leader classes like cleric had, you could only use once per encounter. You would get HP equal to 1/4 your max. And the intent with healing surges was so that the cleric didn't have to be a heal bot, which was a problem. I distinctly remember that being brought up. Like the cleric being the overly dedicated healer, where you almost needed to have a cleric in order to have a decent adventuring party. And
Yeah. The fact that the thing of healing search was to give at least more flexibility in terms of people being able to take a beating.
mhm. Now, some people tried to strawman it as Wolverine style healing, as giving everyone Wolverine style healing,
Yeah.
but that only really works if you treat HP as physical wounds, which doesn't quite work out when a lot of times the way it's described, you run out of HP, you're knocked unconscious. Now, in some earlier editions, yeah, you probably ended up straight up dead, but as time went on, you started to see more at death's door rules, and I suspect the reason why that was because of how many times the ranger kept getting downed. Because from it, I know for a lot of people, they're like, well, yeah, Rangers have sucked in 5e. Rangers have had sucking problems since day one in AD&D.
Ever since the concept of a guy made to be outdoors is tossed into a dungeon. That was the very moment that the ranger was doomed to failure. Well, not to failure, but to a life of misery and pain.
Yeah. Oddly enough, the one time they didn't suck is the edition I'm supposed to hate, but the check bounced. Because in that case, they were a striker who was very, very good at isolating targets. So was the rogue, but they could do but in different ways. And there was the infamous Orcus Slayer because of one daily power that allowed you to keep hitting until you missed. Which resulted in someone taking out Orcus, who was high-end challenge at that time, in one shot. Because he kept hitting, kept dealing damage, and it just stacked up. This would later be known as the Kenshiro Orcus Slayer build. I mean, yes, it did get errated out eventually, but that was a particular
The
brand
damage
of.
was already done.
Mm-mm. Personally, I would have kept it just for the lulz, just to see if somebody tries their luck with that and ends up only hitting once or twice.
They are scared of failure, of greatness. They're afraid of it.
Yep. But I have taken the approach when a lot of people try to use the they're turning D&D into superheroes as some critique. I'm like, have you read a mythology book in the last ever? I mean, for fuck's sake, Celtic mythology has a guy fighting and wrestling a river. I don't want to hear people complaining about their fantasy game having anime bullshit when this is a thing in ancient fucking myth.
We're just carrying out the tradition in our own ways.
Yeah. I mean, we all know about the 12 labors of Hercules. And things like the Legend of Cuchulainn, and well, I will say anybody who's a Fate fan and tries to argue for realism, should leave the room immediately. Like, there's a list of people who got room to throw stones in that glass house. Your name's not on it. And I like Fate, but I also acknowledge, instead of trying to diminish the over the topness, I'm like, run with it, because that's going to be memorable. Like, people remember when someone makes a grappler character who was able to suplex a dragon while shouting about the honor of the mask because he was going full luchador for the whole thing.
Basically become Sabine from FF6.
Yeah. Uh, but now when it comes to speed and range, the rule of 6 still applies. Speed is usually 6. Um,
Yeah.
Usually done with squares or the much superior hexagons. Uh, though I do like that they put a more loose option that so if you don't want to count space, you can measure movement from pinky to thumb. Slightly less for players with large hands or for slower characters. A
I
bit
guess
more
that
for her
that rules us
tiny-handed
out.
friends.
That rules us out.
uh, that sounds ridiculous, but it's something I could see using um with newcomers.
I don't know, man. My pinky from my thumb is already half my desk.
But when it comes to range and reach, certain weapons will determine it. If any enemy is adjacent to you, ranged attacks are made with disadvantage. Reach attacks are not affected. Fair. With long range, you can gain disadvantage 1 to gain +2 range on any ranged attack, max +6.
Yes.
That is a nice touch. Uh, with falling and forced movement, if you're forcibly moved but stopped by an obstacle, you take 1d6 bludgeoning damage for each space that movement would be shortened. Falling inflicts 1d6 bludgeoning damage for every 10 feet fallen. And we do have an alternate approach for abstracted distances. But the whole you can give disadvantage to increase range, I like that. I like
Yeah.
my risk reward systems. Uh, so with concentration, you can only concentrate on one activity at a time. When you're crit while concentrating, you have to make a DC 10 strength save. If you fail it, concentration is broken. It is automatically broken when you're at 0 HP. This is the Now, I'm not the biggest fan of the concentration rule. This is better because it means you don't have to do this save every time you get hit.
That is very annoying when you're playing casters in 5e.
The other thing that's annoying is how many spells require concentration,
Yeah.
which almost makes haste a mandatory spell just so you can do other things. And I realized that the intent was to make it so that they couldn't just cast a bunch of buffs and that was it. But no matter how you slice it, when you have someone spending such a huge chunk of their action economy on concentrating, it means they're doing a lot of not contributing to the encounter. And that's when they break out their phone when it's not their turn.
Yeah.
But from what I saw when I skipped ahead, I don't think the issue of so many spells needing concentration is going to be as much of an issue here. But we'll cross that bridge later. Anyway, we have cover and hiding next, which cover imposes disadvantage on attacks. Full cover, you cannot be targeted. To hide in combat, you have to have cover and make a DC 15 stealth check. If you have full cover, you automatically succeed. The first attack you make while hidden is made with advantage, then you're no longer hidden. If this attack kills the enemy and no other enemy can see you, you remain hidden instead. So this is how you can actually have the stealth assassin build in combat. Let's see, then grappling. I remember 3rd edition grappling where it was a whole column's worth of stuff. Uh, and it is still a strength or dex save in order to grapple. Uh,
It also still has to be your size or smaller.
mhm. Though if it's larger than you, you gain the riding condition, which that part is nice.
Basically, Monster Hunter by that point.
Yeah, that it and or a good old rodeo, and and somebody's going to. We already have a VTT called Owlbear Rodeo, so why not go full speed? I mean, if Lou Ferrigno can grapple a bear and throw it into space, I think all bets are off. Some of you think I'm joking with that. No, watch the 1981 Hercules movie he was in. Because and it's not even the first time Lou Ferrigno ever messed around with bears, and they didn't use some animatronic or anything like that. They used a real bear. Look, I know
Oh,
wrestling
God.
the bear was a thing in circuses, but still, you have to be a special level of crazy to go along with that. Uh,
I guess
depending on
some people can fight a bear
yeah, depending on
and
the
win.
type. I mean, if it's a black bear, it's going to be a royal pain, but it's doable. But if it's a full-on grizzly, don't. I've
And if it is a polar bear, then what the fuck are you doing where you are right now?
pretty much. Though it is a bit disappointing that we don't have any sort of extra things you can do with grappling because let's be honest, if somebody wants to use grapple moves a lot, they want to do
Yeah.
a wrestler build. And with my own work, I tried to address this by having a slam maneuver you can do on a grappled opponent.
Right, because otherwise it's just your opponent can't move.
Mm-hmm. Which is it's not that's nice and all, but let's be honest. If somebody wants to do a wrestler build, they want to do something akin to any luchador you may have seen in the last 30 years. I think there should be more options than just forced movement.
Yeah.
You know, whether it be turning them into a pretzel, as also known as stretching practice. Which, full disclosure, I know someone who runs a gymnastics studio and have had to go through some of those stretches. I never want to do that again.
Oh man, I once tried to do a split.
I did one on accident. I slipped on some ice and I ended up going full Van Damme.
Ow.
I was in so much pain. My mouth was open. I was trying to scream, but nothing was coming out. I just sat like that for about a minute. Because I was in so much pain I couldn't think. Then when I finally got it out, I ended up yelling so loud that the whole block heard me.
It's horrible because you try to scream and it's like you have some latency to it. You're gonna start screaming, you're gonna start actually screaming like 10, 15 minutes after it happened.
Mm-hmm. Uh, and but then we have conditions, and a lot of them are what you'd expect. It is amusing that Bloodied is a condition. That Bloodied was a big deal in 4th edition. Um, a lot of monsters would have additional effects, or certain feats would have additional effects if the subject was bloodied.
Yeah.
Uh, but when it comes to combat, and that's one hell of a beard on that dragon. But you have 3 actions to attack, move around, cast spells, etc. This is very reminiscent of Pathfinder 2nd Edition. So instead of a main action, a bonus action, a move action, a free action, or the like, no, you just have 3 actions, period.
Yeah, and for example, if you take an attack several times, it's gonna be each time harder to make it, to actually hit something. Some actions that you might want to do take 2 actions. I really prefer that instead of 5e systems of what is an action, a bonus action, what is a normal action. Because I think when it comes down to it, or at least in my experience, you just don't use bonus actions unless it's just certain spell or feat.
I do remember being critical of how many features relied on bonus actions, and you're only getting one of them.
Yeah.
Especially once you start getting your subclass features. And if you're in melee or locked in combat, your move action in that circumstance is completely useless.
Useless. Yes.
So having it that you don't have to use it is going to be is certainly going to be more fun. And when it talks about exploding critical hits, let me they haven't gone into it yet, but let me get it right out of the way. You do not roll a d20 to hit or miss in this. You're rolling straight damage.
And that is very much appreciated.
But with attacks, the leftmost die, if you're doing multiple dice, is the primary die. You can still miss if you roll a 1 on that. If you roll the max on the primary die, that is a crit. You roll the primary die again, add the result to the table, to the total. If that happens again, you do it again. You keep doing it until you don't. And crits also ignore armor.
You keep doing it until the thing in front of you is a fine red mist, or until you just fail the next time you do it.
Mm-hmm. I love exploding dice because sometimes you might get 1 or 2, and sometimes you get more, and it is all.
And sometimes they just don't stop.
Mm-mm. And other times the rest of the party is like, stop, he's already dead.
I'm gonna keep rolling, damn it. The dice says I can.
Oh. It also.
I mean, you can also integrate that into the game. Like, if your character is still rolling after the thing is dead, everybody's gonna look at you like a psychopath.
I have had. This is the reason I miss morale checks. Because something I would often do is if you crit hard enough, or if you did massive damage, all the other monsters would have to take a morale check, and if they failed, it'd be treated as them being pushed back via turn.
Yeah.
But when it comes to casting spells, it's you have to have a hand free. You have to be able to speak, or have a spellcasting focus. Yeah. But more importantly, we're not using the spells per day Vancian model bullshit. We are going with spending mana.
As God intended.
Look, I did a whole video on it last year that was about 20 minutes long, going into why I hate the Vancian model. It is not a new hatred. I have been hating that thing since I started. And I know why it's there, but the problem that I've often had is narratively justifying the whole, oh, I need an 8-hour rest in order to cast magic when I'm a master of the arcane or something like that. This is even more the case with say wizards. I could understand that they're supposed to be studying through their spell books and all that. With
But
sorcerers and
sorcerer,
druids
yeah,
and warlocks as well, and
look, man,
clerics.
some druids are hermits and they are very grumpy and they need their naps.
Mm-mm. But the whole preparing spells and the like, there's not a very strong in-universe justification for it. Though, but it's a little harder to swallow. Oh, using magic makes you tired, so you can only use so much of it. Or mana as key, and you can only use so much. And we've seen that with so many different works throughout fiction,
Yeah.
that it's a concept that is a little bit easier to wrap one's head around, as opposed to, oh, I've used up all my level 1 slots. I can't cast any more level 1 spells, but I can cast all these other spells.
Oh no, I can't cast any more. What's it called? Create food and water. Anyway, have a firewall.
uh, but obviously, then we have upcasting spells, which you can only upcast up to the tier you've unlocked. You're basically overpaying. Uh, I could also bring up things like the kicker cost in Magic the Gathering. You know, spend more mana to get an additional effect.
Yeah.
Uh, movement is 6 spaces, standard fare. You can move more than once in one go. Movement speed is halved in difficult terrain. Moving on a climbable surface counts as difficult terrain.
Something that I did like in the part of attack is that it's basically the same thing as I mentioned about Pathfinder with the rush attacks.
Mm-hmm.
The more you attack in the same turn, the more you're gonna fail. The harder it will be for the attack to actually land.
Mm-hmm. I'd say it's going to be. I'd say it's a little bit more manageable here because, instead of a penalty on a D20, it's 1 or 2 disadvantage on a die roll,
On
which,
them, yeah.
based on what I've seen with this, it's not going to be long before you're rolling multiple damage dice. But you can also assess, ask a question about a weakness, create an opening, which increases the primary die roll against the target by 1.
And anticipate danger.
Mm-hmm. Reduce all primary dice rolled against you by 1. Now, the heroic actions, not heroic actions, reactions cost 1 action and are performed when it's not your turn. You can perform each reaction once per round, and you'll start your next turn with fewer actions. So we have Defend, where you reduce damage from an attack by your armor whenever you use this reaction. Interpose, where if someone's within 2 spaces and they're hit with an attack, you can push them out of the way and be the target instead. Opportunity Attack, a melee attack made with disadvantage against an adjacent enemy as it willingly moves away. Monsters do not make opportunity attacks. The fact that only heroes make opportunity attacks means that the lock into combat thing is
no longer a problem.
Mm-hmm. And
you just smack and get the fuck out of there.
Yeah. You can also help, so you're granting an ally advantage on a roll if you can reasonably explain to the GM how you could help in that given situation. I am a little bit iffy about the whole only using them once per round and the like. Admittedly, in my own work, you probably saw this when you looked at Legend Edition's book.
Yeah.
I'm far more liberal when it comes to how reactions work. If only because it would make no sense that after parrying a strike, you can't parry again for 6 seconds. I'm just visualizing that in a fight. I'm like, that seems a bit silly.
Sorry, man. My arm is just sore from parrying that one attack. You're gonna have to wait.
Mhm. But and when it comes to monsters, most are unarmored. Some have medium armor. They they take damage from only the dice rolled, ignoring all damage modifiers unless they're negative. Monsters with heavy armor only take half damage. And crits and damage vulnerabilities ignore monster armor.
Which is something that we saw with the explosive die.
Mm-hmm. And we also have the concept of minions. Which minions are meant to be like the Mook kind of enemies. Any amount of damage that a minion takes, they go down. That was
Basically, cannon fodder.
yeah. That kind of rule was in 4th edition, where where minions always had 1 HP. They tend to move in groups. They can't crit, and they can be their attacks can be defended as if it was a single attack. But see, then when it comes to combat, you have the initiative roll working the same way that it normally does. Although there is an interesting approach here where after rolling initiative, if you got a single digit as total, you start with 1 action. 2 digits, you start with 2. A result of 20 or more, you get all 3. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Yeah, that's a bit weird.
I mean, I get wanting to simplify initiative.
But it feels like, to some extent, it feels more like a punishment at times.
This is something I'd probably only use if surprise is an instance. They do have it that you can grant the party advantage on initiative. Or give them disadvantage on initiative, but that part with even if it's only for the first round, it's still kind of iffy. It feels like they want people to be defensive on the first round, which I'm not sure that really fits the heroic action vibe the game is going for.
Yeah. It's like the game is giving you all the tools to be always on the offensive,
Mhm.
and then at the very first turn that the combat starts, you already just stop dead in your tracks.
Yeah. When it comes to turn order, heroes go first, then monsters. So if that's the case, why even have the whole roll initiative, anyways?
Yeah.
Some monsters might act sooner. A monster or a monster group should act the same time each round. Of course, then they go into what a turn, round, and encounter are, which is self-explanatory, as well as acting over multiple turns. When it came to combat, I think the only issues that I had were the reactions thing, which feels more like a holdover design, and that thing with initiative. Honestly, the initiative rule, I would just throw that out. Period.
Yeah. Especially, it doesn't make much sense with the turn order.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're gonna determine that, if you always know that heroes goes first and enemies go second, then why even roll initiative? And especially since it says that also it's the one that makes more sense story wise will go first. Like it's already even predetermined.
Mhm. Ah, but of course, then we have resting and downtime, and once again, some phenomenal art. Uh,
Yeah.
having a place that big on a cliff feels very reminiscent of my monastery. uh,
It is such a hazard, but it also looks so cool.
mhm. Look, rule of cool can get you very far.
Yeah, just think about that when you get a landslide.
Well, if it's a mage's tower, that may not even be a problem. But you do have the option of field rest, which is either catching your breath, uh, or making camp. So your short rest and your long rest,
Yeah.
uh, which is where you can expend 8 hit die and add strength, regain that much HP. Uh, if you rest for 8 hours, you do the maximum value for each hit die you expend. Uh, I'm still not a fan of how hit die work. Uh,
And
I've
even if you have like negative strength, they're gonna cut down the hit die amount that you're healing.
mhm. uh, a lot of I remember one quick fix I did is that if you took a short rest, you recovered HP until you were at half max.
Yeah.
Simply because I didn't want to. I wanted to put the focus on resting onto other things, especially since I was experimenting with a cooking system. As you often see that sort of thing in like the camp setups in say Pathfinder Kingmaker and a few other games.
Yeah, and Wrath of the Righteous as well and all that.
Mm-hmm. Uh, I wanted to put more of an emphasis on that at the time, but then you have safe rests where you get all of your HP and resources back and heal one wound, uh, and the potential of lodging boons depending on what kind of place you're staying at.
Yeah.
Uh, we
Then
won't get
there's
to
also
lodging boons until we get to the GM guide, but it is nice to
yeah,
have it there to better differentiate what the different tiers of quality of resting place, i.e., why you would splurge at the more expensive inn.
don't be cheap.
Mm. Uh, and we also have downtime activities, which the setup is nice. I'll come back to this if this is more expanded in the GM's guide. But obviously, I have a bit of bias because I have a whole setup for downtime activities personally. But then we get to character creation. Now, we won't get into the actual classes for this one. That's not going to be till next week. But we do have a bit of a teaser for the classes we'll be looking at. Oh. Step one of making a hero is choosing your class. So the options we have are Berserker, the Cheat, Commander, Hunter, Mage, Oathsworn, Shadowmancer, Shepherd, Songweaver, Stormshifter, and Zephyr. So Berserker is not far from Barbarian. The cheat is not far from Rogue. Commander would be like the 4E Warlord. There isn't really a 5E version of that concept. I know some people say that the College of Valor Bard is the equivalent of the 4E Warlord. It isn't. Uh, and the Battlemaster Fighter also isn't. But the idea is the lead from the front kind of tactician.
Yeah.
Then Hunter is definitely Ranger, but more focused on ranged combat. Mage, so your Wizard, Oathsworn, your Paladin, Shadowmancer.
Shadowmancer, Warlock.
Um,
Well, not that much.
I'd say it's
More of a summoner type of mage.
yeah.
Like
There are
make
some.
someone else fight for you.
Yep. Shepherd is definitely your Necromancer.
Yeah.
Um,
is your bard.
hmm Stormshifter is your druid.
And Zephyr is basically the monk.
Yep. Then you choose ancestry and background. Then fill out your sheet. And the character sheet with Nimble is very simple.
It's not even a sheet, it's like a quarter of a sheet.
Pretty much. You have this part here, and everything after that is a blank space to put all your features, equipment effects, and all of that.
I really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. So, when it comes to the sheet, you pick out the basic details. I do like that instead of having to roll your stats, you have it as picking a few spreads.
Yeah.
So the standard spread is a couple +2s, a 0, and a -1. The balance spread is 1, 2, 2 1s, and 0. The min-max spread is +3, +1, and 2 -1s.
Everything else. Well, there's example how skill points work.
So at level,
you mark your stat bonuses into each of your respective skills. Example, a hero with 2+ dex would mark +2 in fitness and stealth, basically, as you normally do in 5e.
and place 4 additional skill points wherever you like. So
Yeah.
we're not doing the automatic proficiency thing with skill points. You have the old-fashioned skill points set up from like 3e, though you don't have nearly as many skills as you did in 3e. Thank God, there are way too many skills in 3e.
Sometimes I think that 5e has or that even 3 has too many skills. And then I realized that I have played Call of Cthulhu.
There were a lot of games that came out in the early 90s that had these offensively long skill lists.
Give me a skill check in calligraphy to see if your letter can be understood.
Not only the skill list itself, but also specializations and skill groups. It got out of hand.
Yeah.
I only have 7 skills in Legend Edition. And I don't treat knowledge for subjects as individual skills, or crafting for different materials as individual skills, because that is stupid.
Yeah, if you try to end up being far too specific to every single detail, first of all, you're gonna miss something at some point, if you don't think that. And second of all, you just made out of all those things, at least 80% is gonna be it's gonna go unused.
Hmm. I favored a smaller skill list that had more individual uses over a bunch of one and dones.
Yeah,
Uh, and the skill list that we have here is, I'd say, slightly smaller than Core 5e's.
yeah, because it groups like all or most of it was the charisma checks like performance, performance, intimidation, and persuade are all rolled into a single one.
Hmm. So what I do note happens here is we don't have dexterity as a god stat,
Not anymore.
but then you would mark out your max HP, your hit die size, your hit die amount, which is equal to your level, your initiative,
Initiative, which
your
is still
size,
dex.
your size, your speed, which is always 6, uh, your max wounds, which is always 6, and your inventory slots, which is 10 plus strength. Uh,
That is a very interesting way to do inventory because, as far as for what I have seen as player and as DM, people basically never bother with inventory and weight of stuff.
yeah, is it is. It's one of those things that works if you're trying to do dungeon survival, but not every game is going to be that.
Yeah,
Uh, the whole idea of inventory slots, I really saw that pioneered with games like the Black Hack. And something else that game did is instead of tracking like individual arrows or the like, it just had a usage die. Where you use that item, you roll the usage die. If you roll a 1, the die is stepped down 1 step. If you roll a 1 when it's at D4, you've used all
the
of the.
item is already used. Yes.
Yep. Uh, and usage die ranges from D4 to D12. It's a good way to have that kind of thing without having to micromanage.
Yeah.
Uh, but when it comes to equipment and money, you start with either the equipment listed for your class and background, or you can just spend 50 GP to buy whatever you want. If you start at a higher level, multiply it by the level you're starting at. And then languages. Each point of intelligence gives you an additional language. Which languages are a nice thing, but I find a lot of campaigns rarely use it.
Yeah.
And I will note one thing. Oh, common should not be on the languages that you get list. I feel like that should be assumed that everyone has it because there, regardless of culture or time frame, there is always some trade language.
Yeah.
Like there's always some kind of trade common so that people can actually do business. Oh, centuries ago, the trade language throughout Europe was French.
How awful.
Yes, I know. But then, of course, other abilities, which are always marked at the bottom. Then inventory slots. As mentioned, you have inventory equal to 10 plus your strength for carrying equipment and loot, whether it be held, worn, or in a pack. One slot can hold a one-handed weapon, shield, worn armor, stack of javelins, 500 GP, or 2 potions. 2 slots can hold a two-handed weapon, unworn armor, or similarly bulky items.
Small and
Small.
related items can be grouped into one slot just for simplicity.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I do like that they answered the ammo question. In most games, there's no need to track ammo. If you have a quiver, you have enough arrows. Assume the hero collects fired arrows, crafts more, or buys them in town. I'm glad for that. I hated having to track individual arrows. Is it realistic? Yeah. It's also annoying.
Just because it's realistic doesn't mean it's good.
Mhm. But every time you level up, which I have a feeling the level up setup here is going to be on milestones. That would make the most sense.
Yeah.
Oh.
Whenever you complete an appropriate challenging quest or adventure.
Mhm. So you get a HP increase. Roll your hit die with advantage and increase your max HP by that much. I was never a big fan of random HP increase. I always, whenever it came to hit die back in third edition or AD&D, I always just maxed it and said, "You gain that much plus you gain that much. That's it."
Yeah.
Just because I didn't want to have a situation where the wizard spends all his time leveling up, he rolls that hit die and he gets 1. And if you get double ones when trying to do HP increase, that's not going to be all that satisfying.
It's just gonna be infuriating.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Your hit die max goes up by 1, typically equal to your level. You gain 1 skill point, and you can move 1 point from one skill to another as long as the skill doesn't become negative. Which is fair. Maximum is 12. Then with class features, you'd get new ones depending on your level. This may increase your mana pool, may give you new spells, or give you a subclass. Or other adjustments. If your base stats increase, you adjust other elements of your character sheet. But then they go into ancestry and background. And I feel like the guy in this image is going to recruit me for retaking the Holy Land.
They tried it 5 times and none of them worked. Well, one of them worked and it didn't last very long.
Oh. Either that or I'm going to have to go seek the Holy Grail with him. Which, incidentally, a few years ago, Nerdist did a video where they had the cast of Batman the Animated Series doing the Knights Who Say Ni. Including Conroy acting as the titular knight who says "ni."
I gotta need to see
And
that.
doing it in the Batman voice and cracking a few times because he could not keep it together.
Surprise, motherfucker!
And hello there, Hydra. Thank you for the raid. Hope your night is going well. Oh, but we have the. I don't like that race has been reflavored as ancestry. It feels too wordy, and people are gonna call it race anyways.
Yeah.
I've heard the arguments about why, and I find those arguments wanting. But the only time I go with ancestry is if I'm doing a sword and sorcery game where it's assumed everybody's human.
Yeah.
But that's a specific case. Or obviously Shadowrun has meta type because technically speaking every quote unquote race in that setup is just a offshoot of humanity. Like elves,
Actually,
trolls, orcs, they're just mutations.
I actually need to get into checking out Shadowrun. I did play the video games. Like, I played Dragonfall in Hong Kong, and I never got to check the RPG itself.
Mm-hmm.
I just know that dragons are very, very dangerous.
Yes, one of the rules with with being a Shadowrunner is never ever cut a deal with a dragon.
Yes, that's something I always heard about it.
Uh, well, one of them ran for president and won. And there's always a part of me that's thinking, what was the presidential debate like? Yeah, Dun Kelzon shows up, runs for president, wins, and then disappears. But the races we have are pretty much the standard one. Human, which gives +1 to all skills and initiative. Dwarf, which gives +2 max hit dice, +1 max wounds, -1 speed. You know Dwarvish if you have positive intelligence. And Elf gives advantage on initiative, +1 speed. You know Elvish if your intelligence is not negative. Halfling.
Oh, they have a good bit there about mixes, like mixed ancestry, like have elves or stuff like that, and it's just choose whichever you want.
Yep. Which makes sense because otherwise they'd end up having to write a bunch of combination races and expand, and that I think that would take away from the straightforward nature they're trying to go for.
Yeah.
Halfling has +1 to stealth. If you fail a save, you can succeed instead once per rest.
Thank you, Lucky.
I'm not doing a Dirty Harry impression. But Gnome has optimistic. You can allow an ally within reach 6 to reroll any single die. Resets when healed to your max HP. They also have -1 speed. They know Dwarvish if their intelligence is not negative. But you call it Gnomish, of course. And then some more exotic ancestries. So Bun Bun,
Ooh.
which are bunny folk. They have went before interposing or after defending. Hop up to your speed in any direction for free once per encounter. Dragonborn. Get +1 armor. When you attack, deal an additional level plus key damage, ignoring armor. Divided as you choose among any of your targets. Recharges whenever you safe rest or gain a wound. You know Draconic if your intelligence is not negative. And Fiendkin, so the Tiefling equivalent.
Yeah.
One of your neutral saves is advantaged instead. You know Infernal if your intelligence is not negative. Not bad. And Goblin.
Or
you can move 2 spaces for free after you become the target of an attack or negative effect after damage, ignoring difficult terrain. And you know Goblin if your intelligence is not negative.
Oh, wow.
And Kobold. You can force an enemy to reroll a non-critical attack against you once per encounter. +3 to influence friendly characters, and advantage on skill checks related to dragons. You know Draconic if you have positive intelligence.
And Orcs is still the same. When you drop your HP to 0, you just set up to your level once per safe rest. You have +1 might, and you know Goblin if your intelligence are negative, but you call it Orcish.
Yep.
Oh, so that's a bonbon. God, this art is just amazing.
Oh yeah. You also have Bird Folk. You have a fly speed as long as you're wearing armor no heavier than leather. Crits against you are vicious, so they roll additional die, and force movement moves you twice as far.
Oh, you have Celestials, which are basically Aasimar. Your disadvantages save is neutral instead. You know Celestial if your intelligence is negative.
We have Changelings. You get +2 shifting skill points. You may take on the appearance of any ancestry. When you do, you may place 2 of your shifting skill points into any one skill.
Crystalborn, this one looks interesting.
I think that is a nod to the Shardborn from um, Player's Handbook 3 in 4th edition.
Okay, that's really cool.
Mhm. When you defend, you gain key armor and deal key damage back to the attacker once per encounter. Um, then, then Dryad, which gives you danger pollen slash spores. Whenever an enemy causes you one or more wounds, you excrete spores. All adjacent enemies are dazed. You know Elvish if your intelligence is not negative.
Half giant. It has Strength of Stone, force an enemy to reroll a crit against you once per encounter, plus two might. You know Dwarvish if your intelligence is not negative.
Mm-hmm. Then Minotaur slash Beastfolk. Uh, I will note I really liked what they did with Minotaurs in 4th edition, where the labyrinth was meant to be this part of their spiritual belief system, a labyrinth where they're trying to maintain their sense of self as well as a metaphor for navigating life. Basically, taking the labyrinth thing and making it a spiritual thing.
You may take the Minotaur out of the labyrinth, but the labyrinth never leaves the Minotaur.
They get charge. When you move at least 4 spaces, you can push a creature in your path. Medium, 1 space. Small, tiny, up to 2 spaces, once per turn.
Have an Oostling or Construct. They have Outconstruction, which increment your hit die 1 step. And there you go. D6, D8, D10, etc. They always heal you for the maximum amount, and magical healing always heals you for the minimum amount.
I'd say that's a nice trade-off.
Yeah, it really is.
Uh, it's kind of like how if you played Knights of the Old Republic, HK-47 couldn't benefit from force healing because he's not alive.
Yeah.
Then
God, HK-47 is such a great character.
Then Planar Being, which interesting approach. Plane Shift. Whenever you defend, you can gain 1 wound to temporarily phase out of the material plane and ignore the damage. -2 max wounds.
Then you have Rat Folk, which have Scurry, gain +2 armor if you moved on your last turn.
Yep. Let's see. Then Stotling. Small but ferocious. Whenever you make a single target attack against a creature larger than you, roll 1 additional d6 for each size category it is larger. They do the same.
Yes, Hydra. I actually thought that exact same thing when I just saw Rat Folk.
Yeah, although I'm going to go the less obvious route and say you pick Ratfolk if you want to do a Mouse Guard campaign.
Okay, that's true as well.
Because even after all these years, I'm still salty that Mouse Guard movie got shit canned. Especially when the test footage came out that looked really damn good. And that was test footage when they were using Unreal as a proof of concept. They were going to move over to I want to say Maya, but I don't think it was Maya. Basically the CG program that's used for full-on movies.
Yeah.
But then we have Turtle Folk.
+4 armor, -2 speed.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Then Weirdlings. The result of magic gone awry. Whenever you or a willing ally within reach 6 cast a tiered spell, you may allow them to roll on the chaos table once per encounter.
So basically, it's just walking wild magic.
Hmm. Now, I will note I like the variety of races here. And well, I know this is a 5e holdover, but I'm not a big fan of the way um, the whole per encounter kind of thing works. Because oftentimes when you have things that limited and it's not a big damn thing, you end up with situations where people are way too conservative with that ability.
Yeah.
And I think there's more elegant ways to do it. Um, I'd probably do it like enough. I think in one case I had it where it was a number of times equal to a certain attribute. So it'd say key encounters so that you could use if the key was say dexterity, you could use it a number of times per encounter equal to your dexterity.
Yeah, or sometimes like skills that that allow you to do stuff up to your level.
Hmm. Or hell, because of the action economy we have here, just have it be used as part of that. Like you're spending another
Yeah.
action point to use that feature. You know, something so that people are more encouraged to use it instead of saving it for a rainy day. Because look, we've all had that moment of holding onto a healing potion until the end of the universe.
And then you still never use it.
Yeah, or I like to call it the 99 megalixirs problem. Uh, I can't use one of my megalixirs. What if I need it for later? He says against the final boss of this story. Also, I love this design for... I'm assuming that's a cleric. Who, for whatever reason, was reminding me of Teal'c. And just silently judging me. But then we have backgrounds, which provide a bit on how your character's past was. Um, it is interesting that these backgrounds are almost feat-like, as opposed to
Yeah,
having a bunch of things that have some narrative potential, but don't. And this was a big problem they had with backgrounds in 5e. That
they are.
aside from the
They
narrative
have.
option, there wasn't a whole
Yeah,
lot there.
they have quote unquote feats that you just never end up using.
Yeah, or they're very situational, like the whole, oh, you can strong arm the local guard in a settlement kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which that's nice, but but and of course there was the whole thing of the random background bits and the way inspiration works, which I have always felt inspiration was half cocked.
Yeah.
But with these, the first off, the backgrounds are more than just a career. There are some that definitely lean into that, but they do give something to you that you're going to get more use out of. Some of the, like acrobat.
Yeah, Acrobat is the first one that I just saw.
Folks, if you want to do the fastball special, this is how you do it. Oh, or
This is our way to maybe ask the the designer of Nimble to actually expand on grappling, so you can use acrobat for tag team tactics.
Mm-mm. I'd probably end up homebrewing some expanded grapple rules based on what I already wrote with Legend Edition. Uh,
It would be really cool.
mm-hmm. But some of the other ones things like secretly undead. uh, and Hydra says, "I like the so dumb I'm smart one. That's just a step away from so drunk you're sober again." Also known as so drunk you haven't gone full Irish, you've gone full Scottish. Uh, and things like accidental acrobat
Acrobat.
requires 0 or negative dex character creation. Whenever you fail a dex-related roll, you may roll again. If you still fail, the consequences are bad.
Bad. I think this is really good because it leans all the way back to the start of embrace failure.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like just double and triple down on it.
Mm-hmm. Now some of these still have the once per rest kind of limitation, which I've mentioned before. I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
I know some people say that that's the equivalent of the AEDU setup in 4th edition. It isn't, because daily powers had a lot more impact. And even daily utility powers had more impact than what I often see with that. I mean, with daily powers for say combat, dailies were your strongest powers. Both either in raw damage or in effect. Even at level 1, they were the at-wills were your weakest, but you could use them at any time you want. Encounters were slightly stronger, but you could only use each per encounter. And uh, and dailies were your strongest.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Why is Mr. Smith from The Matrix looking at me very wickedly in this image?
It's like what would happen if Mr. Smith, if Agent Smith possessed Elrond.
Yeah.
That is
Like the face is identical to that one scene in Matrix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then we have adventuring motivation, and a castle on fire would certainly be motivation.
Honestly, yeah.
But I like that this kind of thing is put up because a common problem, especially in fantasy gaming, is the you meet at a tavern issue, where you've known each other for years, the adventure starts in a tavern, then some old man walks up to you. Is such a cliched way to introduce the party.
Or even the reason of why are they accepting to travel in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Now, in the campaign setting for that one-shot yesterday, it was the adventuring part was you guys are trying to enroll in an adventuring school and eventually graduate to become licensed adventurers, because adventuring is a full-on job in that setting. And
if only that could be in real life.
I know some like to say that the whole adventurers guild thing was something that was put forward by a lot of isekai anime, but not really, Because you had the Slayers Guild all the way back in the Fafhrd and the Grey Mauser books, and those were all the way back in the 50s.
Hmm.
Uh, but even though you don't have to take one of the options that's given here, I'm glad that they're here because it's giving guidance. And admittedly with one of my characters a long time ago, his reason was, um, the dragon owes him money because yes, I was channeling Moon Knight. Of course, I think in another case it was the answer of, I lost a bet, so I have to do adventuring for 3 years. But that was a short segment. Then we go right into equipment with
Nice.
with the most heavy metal ass looking sword. Kind of reminds me of
That's
the
so
Atlantean
cool.
sword in Conan.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
so
love that just in case
mhm,
each corner of every section that is art, they have the credit for the artist.
mhm.
Because I am absolutely going to check out some of them after we finish this.
Oh yeah, but then with equipment, we are not bothering with equipment proficiency. Thank you.
Hell yeah.
If uh, you can sheathe weapons or shields, okay. I have to correct myself. You can use any equipment you like, but each one has weapons and armor types they're most skilled with. If you're using it without proficiency, you're not penalized. You just can't crit. If you're trying to defend while wearing armor that you're not proficient in, it costs an additional action. So we technically do have proficiency, but it's not a you are massively penalized if you're using something that you're not proficient in.
Yeah, it's just you can do or it takes more to do the more special stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
So it's a case of you can do it, there's just going to be a cost. As opposed to taking massive penalties that pretty much make it prohibitive.
Yeah.
Uh, you can sheathe weapons or shields you're proficient with and equip a different one for free once per round. I suppose that's one way of softening the blow that happens with the fighter archetype of, oh, you can use any weapon, but because of the action economy drain of switching weapons,
Yeah.
uh, people usually find one weapon that they start with and stick with that kind of weapon. Like somebody who's a great sword fighter at first level is going to be a great sword fighter at 20th level. So the you can use any weapon doesn't have the same kind of impact. But first we have armor. And we are doing the thing where lighter armor applies your dexterity. Heavier armor has a set armor.
Right.
If you don't have any armor on, your armor is equal to your dex. Let's see. Shields grant additional armor. You do have the deflect option. I think we need more cases of shields as weapons because everybody loves shield bashing.
Yes.
And have you ever seen that one clip of the "Tell me how the ground tastes"?
Yes, I absolutely love that thing. That is the perfect example of why you need in your fantasy game a shield bash.
Yeah, and I've certainly used it plenty of times. Or I think in one case doing a shield based drop kick as an improvised weapon. Plus, who doesn't love the build with the Spartan shield?
Yeah.
Uh, but then and Geekery, the title is Nimble 5e, so that's what I'm going with. If I just wrote Nimble, then that would create more problems than it would solve. But with weapon properties, we do have two-handed, which is self-explanatory. Load, extra actions. Reach, self-explanatory, and thus I can indulge in my polearm brain rot. Um, range, which we've already talked about. Um, thrown, so melee weapon with range. Once thrown, you no longer have it. And then
And
Thor
Vish.
entered the chat, as well as every boomerang user in every bit of media ever. And Vicious lets you roll additional die whenever you roll crit damage. With dual wielding, it can be two light weapons. You gain advantage on an attack with those weapons once per round. You may dual wield one-handed weapons without the light property if you have 3 or more strength, or one weapon without the light property if you have 2 strength. If completely unarmed, fists / feet can be considered dual wielding.
Hell yeah.
Uh,
And on the subject of that, we have unarmed strikes after that.
mm-hmm. Roll 1d4 on a hit, deal
1 plus
1
your
plus
strength.
strength. So that is a case of roll to hit, but when it comes to improvised weapons, default to either 1d4 plus strength or 1d6 plus strength. You can use bigger dice or other properties if it makes sense. A improvised weapon may be likely to break if it lands a crit.
At least it goes out in a bang.
Mm-hmm. And also the manner of customizing weapons or reflavoring them.
Yeah.
But we do have the piercing, slashing, and bludgeoning damage types. And I would say some weapons have about the same amount of damage as normal, and others I think are a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Like Greatsword is 3d4 instead of 2d6, which oddly enough, well, first off, it's giving d4 some more love, but I'd have to double check to see how big the change is. But I'd say because you're not rolling to hit in the traditional way, there's gonna be more impact with these.
I think. Yeah, it's a better minimum threshold of damage compared to D6.
Yep.
Because it's 312, I believe.
Yep, and let me load up let me load up any dice, which is a really good app for quickly looking at die probabilities. So 3d4. So the most common result is going to be a 7 or 8.
And with a 2d6, it's gonna be a 7.
Yep. So about the same, but a different combined percentage. Though I'm not getting into that deep of probability. Uh, though when it comes to load, I think that that is going to have a less punishing action drain than normal.
Yeah, because you have 3 actions that you can do in your turn. In
Hmm.
5e, that was your action. You're not doing anything else of consequence.
Hmm. Uh,
Hold on. Handheld ballista. I think I already like this.
Two-handed, load 2 actions, range 8, is 1d20 plus
20 plus
dexterity.
3. Oh shit, a crossbow is 4d4.
Mhm. Somebody really likes ranged weapons or wanted ranged weapons to have some bite. And I guess the equivalent of a handheld ballista would be, well, there is the hand ballista in Elden Ring, but some of those really powerful compound crossbows that you see these days.
Yeah.
Of course, the hand ballista in Elden Ring is a two-handed ballista. But when I'm thinking of the more powerful compound crossbows, I'm thinking of those ones that you look at the shape and it doesn't look like what you expect a crossbow to look like, but they have a lot more pounds per square inch in terms of the amount of impact.
Yeah, the ones that you have to use a crank to properly prepare them.
Hmm. Uh, if you've seen The Walking Dead, then something like the crossbow that Dylan had, not
Yeah.
uh, not Dylan, Daryl. Um, but just as a point of reference, I'll send you the image. This is the hand ballista in Elden Ring.
Oh yeah, I've seen it. It's basically taken out of Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
That is the lightest light crossbow in Monster Hunter.
Hmm. And see, since it has a range. Now, granted, the handled ballista has a range of 8, and you fire that thing, you're gonna be spending the rest of your action loading it. but and it's also expensive as all. It's also the most expensive ranged weapon on that list, but I can't say it's
I
not
would
worth
ask.
it.
I would ask a for an improvised weapon check to hit with it if I'm firing that thing. I'm just gonna shoot it and then try to bash someone's skulls with it.
Yeah, I did have a homebrewed magic item in one of my campaigns called the Banshee crossbow that was basically a legally distinct version of the noisy cricket. In And yes, the blowback was still a problem with it. You fire the thing, and you are running the risk of getting knocked on your ass. But see, then they go into key equipment involving healing potions, as well as torches and lanterns, and availability of items. So a normal healing potion, 2d4 plus 4, then 3d6 plus 6, then 48 plus 8. Though the price of them goes up pretty damn fast.
Yeah. Maybe just want to just gather a bunch of the lower ones before getting one.
But then we have a thing on magic items, along with what is referred to as the weapon of many hands, and yeah, that's accurate. Magic items are in 4 tiers: uncommon, rare, very rare, and legendary, with a level range for them and the amount of GP they may cost, or in some cases be priceless. And each one, like these are all magic weapons, obviously, but each one has their own quirks, which is nice.
Yeah.
I do like the Gnat Bane weapon. Does not miss small or tiny creatures. They may hate you for it and attack you first. Imagine getting a Gnat Bane version of that of that portable ballista. Pretty much the delete button for fairies, which anybody who had to put up with Navi's shit in Ocarina of Time would probably grab that in a heartbeat, or put up with Fi in Skyward Sword. Actually, I'd say Fi was worse. But things like a weapon of wounding. When you land a hit with this weapon, you may suffer 1d6 damage to deal twice that much additional damage to your target. So a weapon of crash out. Got it. The hand wraps of force, which I can see that being a must for monks. Whenever you make an unarmed strike, you may push your target up to 2 spaces and yourself the same distance in the opposite direction. You may instead make an attack with no targets, striking the air to propel yourself 4 spaces in any direction.
Then you have the Grim Cornet, which is basically you giving the middle finger before you die. Which is when you would die wearing this crown, gain 3 actions and take a turn immediately, and then you die at the end of the turn.
Yep. Although, in a bigger case of giving a FU on the way out would be the Phoenix Helm. If you die wearing this golden helm, your body explodes in flames and hot ash. You rise anew from the ashes.
I love this.
And then we have spell scrolls and wands. Those are some very nice looking wands. Spell scrolls are single-use spells. Casting with a spell scroll does not cost mana, nor does it require magical ability. Anyone who can read the language can utilize it. Reading one aloud takes the same number of actions the spell normally takes, and then consumes the scroll. You have to succeed on a DC 10 Arcana check to cast it successfully if you do not already know a spell from that school. On a failure, it's wasted. Then we have the spell tier and the price of them. Then wands can also be used to cast spells without consuming mana and don't require magic ability. Unlike spell scrolls, wands can be recharged and used again. Characters proficient with wands can use one from any spell school, spending only the normal amount of actions to cast the spell. If you're not proficient with wands, you have to succeed on a DC 10 plus spell tier Arcana check to successfully cast the spell. Success or failure, the charge is spent.
That's like every single time you want to use the wand, right?
Yeah. On the plus side, it's a way to use spells without using your mana.
Yeah.
But I do like that the way that each of the wands we have here has a specific way that it has to recharge. And obviously I have to look more into Wand of Ride the Lightning. Very rare, tier 6, has 2 charges. To recharge it, you place it at the highest point within 1 mile, retrieve after 3 thunderstorms. So it is a bit literal. Oh.
Well, there's also the wand of Glacier Strike, which is just leave the one at the bottom of the lake until it freezes over and thaws naturally.
Yep. On the other hand, it can hold. You can use it for tier 8 spells.
It only has 1 charge.
Mm-hmm. But then we get to spells. There are 6 main schools of magic instead of the 9 spell tiers and the ridiculous spell lists that have happened in the past. 3rd edition was the worst offend. 3rd edition was a major offender. AD&D was one of the worst offenders when it came to pages of spells to total page ratio. I think AD&D 1st or 2nd. I'd have to double check. But the point is that the spell list got ridiculous. But spells take mana. Different classes will gain mana differently. Cantrips do not cost mana. You can upcast spells up to the tier you have unlocked. And AoE spells have some streamlined rules. They do not miss or crit, and a single roll is applied to all targets. Ignore advantage or disadvantage from conditions you have on individual targets. Though anything granting you advantage or disadvantage still applies to your roll as normal.
So basically, it is friendly fire turned on.
Mm-hmm. The save DC for spells is usually 10 plus key ability. The same rule with adding range at the cost of disadvantage that we saw with weapons can apply with spells as well.
Nice.
Unless the spell has reach. But reach spells can be cast as normal even when you're in melee. So if you're trying to go for the Gish build, reach spells are going to be the ones you'd want to go with. I do like that instead of the spell spheres we've seen before, we have them based on elements.
Yeah, fire spell, light spell, lightning spell, necrotic spell, radiant spells, and wind spells.
Because I liked, given my lore, I like to go with ice magic, but ice magic in D&D has always been very has always been very more miss than hit. And what do I get? Frost Ray, Summon Blizzard,
Ice
Cone
Knife.
of Cold, Ice Knife.
I
How you compare that to what fire gets?
I had a friend who tried to use Ice Knife 4 different occasions, and the 4 times he used it, he almost killed himself with it.
Yeah, the point is there's not a whole lot of cold or ice related spells in the.
It's always fire because deep down we're all just cavemen.
I usually go for chain lightning. Oh, I'm outnumbered 30 to 1. that's 30 that's 30 more targets than me. But it does appear that first off, the spells go on a tier list from tier 1 to tier 9, and is a very linear spell list.
Yeah.
Uh, and the high levels thing is basically the spell automatically scaling as you level up. Uh, and I'd say with the upcast version, it's basically just casting it at one tier higher
Yeah.
and getting that benefit. So, for example, enchant weapon for fire, which is tier 2, takes 1 action. Concentrate up to 1 minute. A weapon you touch is enchanted with magical flame. It deals plus key damage and inflicts smoldering on crits. If you upcast, you
And they're
add additional key damage. So because of the way we have concentration, oh, it's not going to be as much of a deal breaker. But I didn't see anything that I think the instance is that each time you do upcast, you are casting at 1 tier higher. Let me each. And as
I'm
far as how much
seeing.
mana you spend, I think you spend the same amount of mana equal to the tier of the spell for both the base cast and for upcasting, which is a
I
pretty simple way to do it.
just saw the dragon form spell.
Mm-hmm.
How the fuck do you get 5 actions?
Because you're a huge dragon, I suppose.
No, it takes 5 actions to cast.
I think you would have to spend each action point individually.
That might be it. Yeah, like it takes 2 turns to transform yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The necromancer school better have a leech spell.
Yep. Let's see, I do like that each of the elemental spells has certain debuffs that they lean into, that are like fire has smoldering, which can proc into other things, like say pyroclasm,
Yeah.
which I'd say I know it'd be tempted to say pyroclasm is the fireball. I don't quite think it is, given the limited reach. But tier 4, 2 actions, AoE. Others within reach 3. Others within reach take 2d20 plus 10 damage, ignoring armor on a failed dex save. Half damage on a save.
And smoldering creatures always fail.
Mm-hmm. So the strat is pretty obvious. Set them up with Flame Dart, and then use Pyroclasm to completely wreck them. Or you could upcast it at higher tier to give yourself more reach and more damage.
Well, it's also the same with the ice spells,
Mm-hmm.
because as ice you have like slowing, like you when you hit with ice lance you slow enemies,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have shatter, which is 3d6, but if any die rolls the max against a hamper target, which is any creature with actions or movement reduced, it counts as a crit. And on a crit, it does plus 20 damage.
Mm-hmm. And that's tier 2.
Yeah. Or you have Glacier Strike, which is tier 8. It takes 3 actions, and the damage is a D66, which is just take 2d6 and use them as one as tens and one as units.
Mm-hmm. Yep. 2 creatures in a 3x3 area. Creatures adjacent to that area take half as much. The entire area permanently becomes difficult terrain. So yeah, drop a glacier on the enemy.
You basically turn the enemy into the Titanic.
Mm-hmm. Uh, and with lightning, it is a lot. Some of it is built around the charged effect. Uh,
Give me 1 second.
mm-hmm. No worries. Let's see. There's Zap, which is doing 2d8 damage. On a miss, the lightning fails to find ground and strikes you instead.
Give me 1 second. I need to check something real quick.
No worries. I can buy time. Let's see. Overload, which you can only cast if you're charged, i.e. when you've taken lightning damage. Has reach 2, does 2d8 to others within reach at high levels, plus 4 damage for every 5 levels. On the other hand, we do have Ride the Lightning at tier 6. Teleport up to 12 spaces away to a spot you can see. If a willing creature is there, swap places with them. Adjacent creatures take D88 damage. Surviving creatures must make a strength save or be hurled back 3 spaces. Knocked prone and deafened for 1 day. Upcast is 1 DC. Why not have someone else ride your lightning for a change? But let's see, what else do we have in lightning? Alacrity. When attacked, you can defend for free. After damage is dealt, you get charged. Then teleport anywhere within range. A lot of mobility stuff with lightning spells. I like it. And Stormlash. Tier 3, takes 2 actions, has AoE. Is a 12 square line. Is 3d8 plus 4, ignoring metal armor. Surviving creatures are dazed on a failed strength save, or incapacitated instead for one of their turns if they fail by 5 or more. Creatures with a large amount of metal, i.e. ergo a armor or a longsword, roll with disadvantage. Yeah, that would track. And Electrickery, tier 4, 3 actions, 2 targets, range 8. It's a reaction. When an ally is attacked, choose another creature within range to swap places with your ally on a failed will save. They become the new target. Costs 1 action while charged, ending the condition.
Okay, sorry about that.
No worries. I was going through some of the lightning spells, and I do like that the meta with lightning spells is get charged, do crazy stuff with charge, and spend it, and then get it back, and then get it again.
Nice.
Would also mean that you'd be a very good counter against a storm giant. Because if you take lightning damage, then you're charged. It doesn't have to be lightning damage from your own effects. But then we have wind spells, and I do recall Diaz making a remark that that some of the spell setups was because somebody at the team wanted to do Avatar, which, you know what, I can agree with that. Uh, and Songweaver has their own cantrip in wind spells. This is where we get Vicious Mockery. Cantrip, 1 action, single target, range 12, damage 1d4 plus intelligence psychic, ignoring armor. On a hit, the target is taunted during their next turn. Does +2 damage every 5 levels. Yeah, that would track for Vicious Mockery. Then, let's see, Radiant spells. Rebuke is basically turn.
True Strike seems to be the same.
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
Heal, Warding Bone.
Mm-hmm. So the Radiant spell list is very, I'd say, more Paladin than Cleric.
Yeah.
Although there is the Shepherd's exclusive spell. Then Necrotic spells. And let's see, do we Oh, Necrotic only goes up to tier 7? That is unfortunate.
Nah, that's a shame.
Uh,
Creeping Death is 4d20.
If it kills the creature, it violently erupts, and you must deal the same amount of damage to another creature within 8 spaces of it that has not yet been damaged by this effect. Repeat until a creature survives this damage, or no other creatures are within reach. Upcast,
And
1d20 damage.
Well, I guess now we know why there's no tier 8.
Yeah. Somebody looked at Chain Lightning and said, "How can I make this worse?"
And they did. And the Shadowmancer gets the basically Eldritch Blast.
Yep. So Shadowmancer is definitely doing the Warlock thing. Then there are options for utility spells. We have a few. It looks like we have 3 for each type.
Oh look, Mildra, it has a nice disc, so now you can reach like you're a Chaos Sorcerer from 40k.
Oh yeah. Oh. Yeah. Although that whole floating disc thing is more of a Warhammer Fantasy thing than a 40k thing. Especially, maybe maybe some Thousand Suns.
Yeah, the Thousand Suns.
Yeah, but the Thousand Suns suck.
Wow.
Okay, I will admit that I don't have the. I think it's more of the whole trying to do the Xanatos Gambit every time, and eventually becomes like a joke. Oh.
I don't mind. I like the Death card more anyway.
Yeah. Papa Nurgle loves you. But and contrary to the meme, no. That whole Magnus did nothing wrong, that is a lie. Magnus did nothing and he did it all wrong.
He was told to do nothing, and he did that wrong.
Hmm. Of course, some of that is on Big E for not telling people that chaos is a thing, and instead just punishing him in the way that he did without explaining why.
So much could have been avoided if it weren't because they were such lazy assholes and didn't want to tell anyone.
Hmm. Or in some cases, just give a guy a hug. Hi, Petarabo, how you doing?
Or don't let your son see how you let every one of his friends die.
Mm-mm. But we do have a few variant rules. First off,
Nice.
multi-classing. So when you level up, you can choose any other class. Simple. Why does everyone have to
Yes.
complicate multi-classing so much? And I do like this sidebar they put in about broken can be fun. I've been saying that shit for years as somebody who has pissed off multiple DMs with Palarer builds or Sorcerer Paladin combos. Which the reason I go with that combo is more spell slots. And one might think, what, you're going to be casting? Nope. Smiting. But yeah, some people really, really hate that build. So of course I keep doing it. Because there's nothing wrong with the thing. It's just if you do, if you give me a gun, don't be surprised when I shoot something.
Or someone.
uh,
There are rules for small and large groups.
mm-hmm. uh, I think this is to account for if you have a if you have a if you have a smaller or larger table.
Yeah.
Um, I do know the sidekick thing gets further expanded. Uh, but
I
it's
don't know,
basically a
man.
way of bringing back minions, bringing back not minions but hirelings, which were a thing in older D&D and then got phased out for some reason.
Playing with a group of 10 or plus heroes sounds like you either have people play with various characters at the same time, or you are stupid rich and have one of those gigantic tables that reach like maybe 40, 50 feet.
I've had to play at cons where they had more than 10 with
Wow.
multiple GMs because I think one of them had like 20 people, and having 20 people in a party with one GM would probably make me lose my hair. But and we have fast resting, so if you want something more fast paced, a safe rest can heal all wounds. That is one I'm probably going to be using. uh,
I like that
critical.
one. I had the high ground.
Hmm, yep. Critical healing. You treat healing like an attack roll. Rolling the max is a crit. Rolling again just like an attack crit. Rolling a 1 is a failure to heal. Note this variant is fun for the right group that enjoys swinging moments. Consider increment the die size by 1 step if you use this variant. And see, I had the high ground. Taking a crit while at a height may cause the character to fall down. A reasonable strength save can be called for, but a weak character may just fall automatically. Look, the rules of fiction are very clear. If you are shot from a high place, you will fall to your death.
And you have to use a soundboard to play a Wilhelm scream.
Yeah. Uh, let's see. You can throw potions, treat them like ranged attacks. I have abused this plenty of times when it comes to treating use potion as a minor action, so I can just say, "Hello, I'd like you to meet my friend Molly." Especially in one case where I had an alchemist character who accidentally invented thermite.
Oh God.
And I have played plenty of thieves who have built traps, and one of them is improvised landmines using Greek fire.
Oh my God.
And especially when setting up for an ambush, and then you've got a bunch of goblins trying to run in, and then all of a sudden you hear a click, and then somebody off in the distance going, "Oh, they found the landmines." Uh, and in a few cases, I'd ask, "Hey, guy with the spells, can those wands be used remotely? Uh, as long as there's a command, yeah. Good. I'm gonna need to borrow that. Why? Because I'm about to remind people that it's not the war crime if it's the first time. So imagine taking um a fireball wand and turning it into a remote sentry. I.e., if anything that is not one of us goes in this space for the next hour, use one charge and cast fireball. And of course, then we do have the inspiration rule. It's just rerolling a single die as a one-off. Once again, I always felt that inspiration is undercooked, but I'm glad it's a optional thing here.
Yeah.
Uh, but things like different key or secondary stats, if it makes sense, that's perfectly fine. Choosing 2 backgrounds and/or ancestry bonuses, I could see some fun with that. Uh, and custom weapon dice. This sort of setup of using dice of different sizes as long as they add up to the same.
Yeah.
This is not far removed from the primary die system in Lex Arcana, where you can, as long as the total number of die faces adds up to the stat that you're using, any combination is legal.
Yeah. The only thing that you're doing different is you're capping the minimal amount of damage that you're gonna get.
Mm-hmm. But if you want to do a safer amount of damage instead of something more high risk, that is an option. Uh, they also have a more precise ruling for spaces.
Bases.
And truth be told, doing the diagonals adjacent or every other diagonal, that reminds me of things like the 5-10 rule or some of the weird approaches to diagonal movement that have been done in earlier editions. I was never a fan of that because it never made sense that it took you 10 feet of your movement to move diagonally. It feels like something you would see in chess.
Yeah.
But after that, there's a nice little glossary, and some nods about what else is going to be possible, including the creator's kit, which is basically a hacker's guide. And obviously, we saw this at the start. They have their own open license.
Yeah.
You saw a lot of people coming up with their own open licenses or jumping on the Orc bandwagon after the OGL fiasco.
As they should.
I'd say a big reason you saw that so much was the well was significantly poisoned after everything that happened with the OGL fiasco. So a lot of people were like, How do we make sure that shit doesn't happen to us? And the sweet irony is that the original open gaming license was meant as a peace offering. Because TSR was infamously litigious in their waning years. You can blame Lorraine Williams for that. It's okay, everybody does it. But that being said, we'll get into the individual hero classes next week, but so far, what do you think of Nimble's core setup and what it changes from 5e?
Well, first of all, combat finally doesn't feel like stopping the progress into a halt because honestly, there are times where if you get into combat, it's more trouble than it's worth.
Especially if you want to do some large scale thing and you're just in these long what's referred to as tar pits in wargaming.
Yeah. Like it just destroys whatever type of momentum you might have had. I like the rules of small enemies that are just one-off with the minions because you just do combat with groups and they end up quickly. So there is at least that. The 3-action system is really good. I mean, I actually love that about Pathfinder. I did have my problems with the things that you already mentioned with initiative and reactions, and more also initiative. I just think that there is really no reason to even try to determine initiative if you already have defaults. What else? I'm trying to think. No more like the basic character sheet is really good. For stats, that's fine. Like I think like maybe 11 skills, which are far better to manage. I think I also agree with you with the whole stuff for defeats and about once per encounter, once per turn. I really think they should lean that more into key amount of times per day or something like that. But other than that, I think that is really, really good. It pretty much does what it should do, which is make combat and gameplay far more nimble without sacrificing the story side, because that's already another thing entirely.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, I know that there's this push to have act like story and combat are these separate entities, but I'm of the opinion that they can be integrated.
Yeah, I think this is doing a very good job at trying to integrate them, because combat is no longer a slog with this. And the small adjustments are really good. Like you just use you just toss the damage, and yeah, if the primary die is a 1, you still miss. But other than that, it makes it so that the guy who has been training for his whole life with a sword doesn't miss when he's trying to attack a single fucking kobold.
Something else that I didn't see here, and I'm glad that I didn't, is object HP.
Yes.
Now, we may end up seeing that in the GM's guide, so grain of salt there. But there's been plenty of times where somebody wants to do the dramatic kick the door down and burst into the room shooting, but the door
That's
has too
me,
much HP.
actually. That's actually me. When I was on my first campaign ever, which was Strad, my character just kicked whatever door he found,
Hmm.
and more than once I couldn't get away with it because of object HP.
Yeah.
But overall, I really liked it.
Hmm.
Am I not getting this?
I like the foundations we've got here. I think
Yeah,
the only glaring thing I'm not a fan of is the initiative thing. The whole
yeah,
per encounter, per turn, per day thing. That's just a holdover from 5e design goals, which I honestly wouldn't be surprised if that gets phased out in the future. Just because the type of fast approach that this is going for, I feel like that doesn't quite fit.
yeah,
I don't think Nimble is trying to do the, oh, you should only have this many encounters per session, which always struck me as weird. That was a design pillar.
yeah. Because you have all the rules to precisely avoid that. Like encounters per session no longer matter if the encounter ends in 2, 3 turns.
Well, I've often felt that the amount of encounters per session should be a table decision, not a
Yeah,
designer decision. Oh. Something I think could be easier to do with Nimble as a base is one thing I've attempted to do plenty of times in certain campaigns, and that's mass combat.
yes,
Uh, and I will note whenever I've done mass combat, I never did it as a, oh, the party is controlling a whole army, because that, if you want to do that, just break out your war game of choice and use that as a substitute.
yeah,
The approach I'd rather do is not far removed from, say, the Musou games, Dynasty Warriors and the like,
yeah.
where you're one competent soldier in an army, kind of thing. But I do like that instead of using the term character when it came to character creation, it is referred to as heroes
Hero.
to
Yeah,
reinforce the fact that that from first level, you are not cut from the same cloth as the rank and file.
yeah,
There are certain games that do the, oh, you're just a random person in the wrong place at the wrong time. Uh, this is not doing that. I'm not saying you should be some some demigod at first level. This isn't stopping you from that.
it's just that you have the potential to become that, or that you're just above the average people.
Yeah. Because if you're making the choice to go out adventuring, you're clearly not cut from the same cloth.
Yeah,
But with that said,
I'm really curious to be checking out what the hero book will bring up on that end.
mm-hmm. So I believe we'll be doing be doing the heroes book next Monday. Yep,
That would
heroes,
be,
and then the week after, so on the 30th, we're going to be doing the GM's guide.
yeah.
So that'll be fun to delve into. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.